Hello everyone, I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Jayson.
And we are a father
and son.
Today we're doing another top 10 list.
Ooh.
And it's a topic that I came up with, and it's on my shirt. Today we're going
It's
to...
not on my shirt though.
Today, that shirt is wacky.
Yeah, it wraps all the way around too.
Does it really?
Yeah, it does.
I don't know where we got that. I don't remember getting that shirt, but you know what it looks like? It looks like you went to Walmart and you just bought like a sleeve of stickers.
Yeah, I got a plain white shirt and I just got a bunch of stickers and yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Mom got me this at a thrift store.
That is a tacky shirt, and
Yeah.
I love it. Today we're going to count down our 10 favorite personal X-Men characters. And quick disclaimer, X-Men is not a property that I've been doing a lot with lately. I haven't even really been in a massive X-Men mood, but we were trying to think of possibilities today, and I was like, well, that's a thing that we haven't really done a list on before, and it sounded like fun, and then I started working on my list, and I was like, ooh, I'm rusty.
Yeah.
With my X-Men.
Me too. That's what I kind of thought of that too. I kind of thought the same too when I was making my list. I was like, oh man.
So we're going to make this as interesting and fun as humanly possible. I'm interested to see how much overlap we have.
Yeah, me too, because I kind of picked not the most, obvious ones.
And I probably did.
I think I picked the most obvious ones for me,
Yeah.
but not like,
Well-
like my favorite is Cyclops,
Well, that will make this cooler, though, because then we probably won't have too many repeated characters. And that was the big difficult thing for me, is I was going through this, and the debate that was raging in my mind as I was putting my list together is, how much of an X-Men fan am I really? And that's a question I've asked myself for years and years. In my comic collection, one of, if not the biggest collections I have is X-Men.
Wow.
But I don't really think of myself that hard as like an X-Men guy, except like movies, and of course I grew up loving the 90s cartoon show, and like I've read some X-Men here and there, and we've done obviously tons and tons of X-Men material on the channel, but I'm like, am I more of a fan of just a particular character or two, or is it the team as the whole? Like, the thing I had a hard time with this is X-Men and I'm not even a team guy usually, but X-Men for me is like the general concept, and the way the question of whether mutants and humans can coexist is handled is always the really interesting part. And all of the individual mutants, for me, tend to be like just stand-ins or different examples for exploring that idea.
Mm-hmm.
And not to give too much away, but the whole thing ultimately boils down to the two main, like the hero and the antagonist that reflect those ideas.
Yeah. And, I think I'm more of an X-Men guy than you.
You think so?
Yeah, I'm, the 90s show is my favorite animated show of all time, and, I've read a bit of the comics. I tried to get into the comics at one point, and I kind of just fell off. I'll try to... I want to try to get back to...
Were you going all the way back to Stan Lee, or were you going to Claremont?
I was...
Didn't you start a Claremont read at one point?
I think I did. I think I did start that. But
Yeah.
I think I tried to, start at different places at different times.
Well, I think... So there are 2 or 3 characters I know for sure will be on your list, but I bet you'll surprise me. In a couple of places. I'm curious to see it. I'm curious to see just how obscure you get. I found myself going, here are some more obscure characters that are kind of neat, but definitely not top 10 material for me. So mine is going to be, I'm going to be like old school 2009 Cap with this. Like I'm mainstream Captain Logan with this particular list, I think.
Yeah,
Thanks for watching live, guys.
Yeah, I was like, Mega Red, maybe, I don't know. Maybe, should I?
Yeah, that's great.
Purple Man? I don't know.
That's great. So the way we're going to handle this is characters that are featured in the franchise X-Men, and they have to be mutants.
Yeah.
And that's all of the criteria. We thought about doing characters that have been X-Men, and at this point, if they're a mutant, they've probably been on an X-Men team.
Yeah.
On an X team at this point.
Yeah.
When you go to the 2010s, Jason, because I found a list on Wikipedia with X-Men, like, did you find this too?
I found the same list.
With characters that are on the roster for different decades. Did you see that? So there's like in the 60s, it's like 8 characters, and then you get to the 70s and it's Claremont, so it gets bigger, and then the 80s it's even bigger, and then by the time you get to the 2010s, you start seeing a bunch of villains on that list. It's like Sabretooth has been an X-Man now, and Mystique has been an X-Man now. And not just in the movies, maybe just, I'm not sure. But anyway, so we decided that we didn't want to get into the kind of semantical argument of what counts as an X-Man, and just say if they've got mutant powers and they're in the Marvel Universe, they count for our exercise today.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And that was Jason's idea, and I was like, yeah, I think that, especially when I found that list, where I was like, oh wow, it was like all these characters that was Toad an X-Man at some point? Like, it seems like everybody was probably an X-Man at one point. Brightburns puts in a $4.99 super chat. We'll, let me go ahead and read this real quick since this is a super chat. Brightburns, thanks for the super chat, man. I appreciate it. But on shows like this, I'm going to ask you to try to keep it on topic if you could. Hey, Cap, this is random, but do you think Jason would like Charade from 1963 because it's not a vulgar film like Batman Returns? Yeah, that's a movie that he had us review for the request, and we almost watched that a few weeks ago, actually, with the family, and we just haven't gotten around to it. That's a spy movie from the early 60s. It's kind of also a romantic comedy, but I think you'd like it a lot, and we will do that at some point. But let's go ahead and get into our X-Men stuff. Real Warzog, are you basing your picks on the franchise as a whole or specific iterations of characters?
I did. It's just like the franchise as a whole.
I did too, just broadly.
I had like one character where like I like this character more in the movies, and then I had this character where I don't really like this character in the movies, but I do like it in. I don't like it in this movie, but I do like it in this movie. But I like it more in the show, but. Yeah, I was gonna say so a lot of my choices are probably based more on particular iterations than others, where it's like I like this version from this thing so much it makes the list, as opposed to they've all got to be great in the movies, or they've all got to be great in the comics, or a TV show, or whatever it is. I'm basing mine mostly on the TV show and fighting games.
That's great.
So,
but I'm sure movies will come up some too.
Yeah, movies will come up. Yeah,
which will be interesting with you because I know you don't know them super well.
Yeah,
so I'll be interested to see what jumps out at you as being great from the films. Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
We've got a good crowd here. Thank you guys for joining us. We're gonna go ahead and get right into it. And I think the rule lately has been if it's my idea, I have to go first, right?
Okay.
Because you went first the first 2 weeks. You're welcome to go first if you want to, but
then.
I think that was the whole plan, wasn't it?
You go first.
Okay. My number 10 is Mystique.
Okay.
Who is a character, and I'm going to have this with a lot of things. Some of it ends up being superficial, and some of it is more, psychological character stuff. Mystique was never a favorite character of mine growing up, and I warmed up to her more and more through the films. And once you get to Days of Future Past, I find her fascinating. In that movie where she's kind of straddling the fence between the philosophies of Xavier and Magneto, like caught in the middle of that. A lot of my favorite characters are going to be in relation to those two characters. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Again, psychologically. And so, but I always really liked the look of her in the comics with like the skull belt.
Oh yeah.
And like she's got no pupils and she's just super mysterious. And with her power, you never know when she's going to show up. A lot of the fun stuff about X-Men ends up being soap opera, and her, familial relationships are interesting, and it's. I don't know. It's fun how like convoluted all of that gets. Where and it turns out that she's Nightcrawler's mother, and the way that she's connected to different characters. And then, of course, I started loathing her in the movies post Days of Future Past. But that's because Jennifer Lawrence didn't want to be there, and they weren't really sure what to do with that character anymore. But also, I didn't like hardly anybody of those movies after that, so that still doesn't ruin
Doesn't really count.
my appreciation for
yeah.
Mystique. Yeah, she was really fun in the '90s show. For me, X-Men was the '90s show for the longest time until you got to the movies, and then I latched onto that real hard. And she didn't show up enough in that show. Would have been really nice if
I
she
don't think she did either.
got more to do there.
Yeah, she's in a few episodes, but she's not like. Yeah.
But she's in a lot of X-Men Evolution, which I just have not spent enough time with.
Oh, really?
I've seen the first season, and it's been a long time, and I haven't watched very much. I think I've seen disparate episodes after that, but it's been a long time. And she's got more of her classic comic look in that.
That's cool. And she has her comic look in the 90s show, too.
Yep.
A bit, yeah.
Anyway, so what is your number 10?
My number 10 is Professor X.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised that Professor X is as low as he is there.
Yeah, he's... I don't know, he's cool. I almost forgot about him, because I was just
I almost forgot
obscure.
about the founder of the X-Men.
Yeah, he's the Zordon character. He's very well known. He's got cool powers, and I don't know. It's kind of like the first thing you think of when you think X-Men, usually.
Just because that's his name?
Yeah, but also he's like the leader.
We were talking about X-Men earlier. I'm going to throw you under the bus for a minute.
Okay.
Because it cracked me up. Jason goes, do they ever reveal Xavier's first name? And I just looked at him, and in an Ian McKellen accent, I went, Charles! And he was like, oh, yeah. So, I also am going to cry foul on you for a second because I think you're lying. I think the real reason that you put Xavier at the tail end of the list is just because of the voice actor in the 90s show whenever he screams.
No, that's
goes,
what makes
ah!
it. No, that's what makes it on the list.
I knew it! I knew it. And you gotta love the telepathy circles.
Yeah. I also just like all of the it's just lower on my list because I like a lot of other characters better than him.
Oh, no, that's totally fair.
Yeah.
Does Patrick Stewart help?
Yes, very much so. Yes.
You know what I was...
That's what... Because I grew up with the movies.
Yeah.
I didn't really grow up with the 90s show until I was like 10, so...
We started watching that a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And you still haven't finished it because it stopped being great by 4.
I've seen the first 4 seasons, but I have not seen the 5th season.
1 and 2 is where it's at, and then 3's got Dark
3
Phoenix,
is great.
and there's fun stuff there, but
3 and 4 are great. 4 has...
I think 2nd is probably its best season, but...
I think 2, 3, and 4 have the best episodes. I think 2 and 4 have like the best episodes of the show. But I don't really know.
Yeah.
I think of 3 as like the weak season, but I don't know.
When I was a kid, everybody in comic circles said if they ever make an X-Men movie, the only possible choice is Patrick Stewart for that character.
Yeah.
And then it was nuts when he got cast.
Yeah.
And there was a rumor just before that, I say just before that, before Batman and Robin, that he was going to play Mr. Freeze. And that would have been amazing.
Oh.
Not for that movie, but if it had been, a more serious take. Patrick Stewart as... I'm getting off topic here, but Patrick Stewart as the Mr. Freeze from Heart of Ice from Batman Animated Series would have been awesome.
Yeah. I feel like he would have been more like Safe House was, where he's just miscast. He would be more miscast.
You think so?
No.
I think he could have been a really tragic villain.
I think he would be a great
You mean
villain.
for Batman and Robin?
For Batman and Robin, no.
Well, sure, yeah. Yeah. No, Schwarzenegger was probably the perfect choice for that version.
I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
If there is one.
I don't think there is, but I don't know.
Let's go ahead and move on.
Let's talk about X-Men.
So my number 9, I feel like I almost have to apologize to my friends that work with me on the channel, because most of the folks I know that I chat with a lot about this kind of stuff do not like this character. And I'm being a journalist here in a way, because I feel like I have to report how I really feel. I feel like it's important to tell the truth. And like I said, I feel almost embarrassed about this to a degree, where like I have to admit when I'm a fan of something that I feel kind of weird about. So for the longest time, I was on the anti-Deadpool train.
Yeah.
And I have to I have to kind of suck it up and admit that I am kind of a Deadpool fan, but a really, really picky one. Okay?
Yeah.
So generally speaking, I kind of hate Deadpool, but that's because of how he's often written in comics and in certain other media and stuff,
Yeah.
where he's kind of just there to break the fourth wall and be a joke, and it's an excuse to not have to tell real stories and just be really silly and go to least common denominator humor. But one of my favorite comic stories of all time is Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. I also really like Joe Kelly's run, and that made me appreciate the original notion, or I shouldn't even say original notion, because it's not really what Liefeld was doing with it before that, but like when somebody got thoughtful about Deadpool, the first real idea with him is, what if you had a character who had no empathy at all because of trauma he'd suffered, who can't be killed, and wants to figure out how in the world to be a hero, but doesn't even get what that means and is like incapable of it. But the endearing thing is that he's trying, so he's almost like a Data kind of character, where he wants to be human and he doesn't have emotion, but the very fact that he wants it might be evidence that he has some of what he wants in the first place, right? And that's what I find really interesting about Deadpool. The movies have not done enough of that for me, but I also really like that first film.
Yeah.
And so all of that together and combined, I have to admit, yeah, I'm a picky Deadpool fan, but I'm kind of a Deadpool fan. But I don't like him for anything like the reasons the majority of people seem to. So that is a guilty pleasure thing, and I feel almost the need to apologize. But I guess Deadpool is my 9th favorite X-Men character.
Yeah. Well, should we go to my number 9?
Well, what do you think of that? Am I crazy to put that on the
No,
list?
I don't think.
I felt like I had to.
I don't think. Yeah, I think. I mean, he had good movies, and I don't really know much.
2 is I've got issues with, but yeah.
Yeah, I like his movies, and that's really all I know about Deadpool.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, my number 9 is Cable.
And I probably shouldn't have let you see those. But speaking of the Deadpool movies,
my number 9 is Cable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I first saw him in the
90s show, probably. Sorry.
In the 90s show, in
That's the follow up to Days of Future Past, right? Where they go
yeah.
further in the future.
Yeah. And
is that the one with the crazy double beat episodes where with Apocalypse and all that, or does he show up even before that?
Yeah. Well, Apocalypse shows up before that. But...
No, I know, but does Cable show up before that? That's his introduction, right?
No, that's his introduction.
I can't remember the name of that, but
no,
those episodes are crazy.
Those episodes are insane. Later, when like Bishop and Cable are like outside of time,
yes,
that part's insane. But yeah,
I've never been a big Cable fan. I just think he's kind of a plank of wood. But
I like his powers. I think
he's got better powers than Bishop.
Yeah, I think he's a really like cool guy.
You kind of like
very like
you kind of like muscular macho characters like that, though,
yeah.
right?
And he's got white hair, and it's awesome. I don't know if you know this.
He's got
I really
the missing eye.
I really like characters with white hair that like aren't old.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, like I really like Spike from Buffy.
Oh sure.
I really like Cable. Like
okay, so you like bleach blonde characters?
Yeah.
Weird. Okay.
I don't know why. It's cool.
How did you feel about Cable's characterization in Deadpool 2?
I did like him in Deadpool 2. I didn't like Juggernaut in Deadpool 2, but I did like Cable in Deadpool 2. He's
also Thanos.
I think he's also even in that, he's like even more like muscular and cool and stuff. And yeah. I also haven't seen Deadpool 2 in like a year, but
one of the things I really appreciated about him in that is that he's not made overly comedic just because it's a comedic film. Like, he plays everything straight, but they still get comedy mileage out of his interactions with comedic characters, especially Deadpool. Like, that whole joke in that, where he keeps talking about Black Tom Cassidy, and then Deadpool keeps calling him racist. It's really funny. Alright, oh, 1 second. I have lost my list here. Okay, I gotta go to 8 now, right?
yes.
Okay, this is a character that I don't feel like I've read enough and that I don't know enough about, but I've always loved the look, and what little I've read with him I love. And it's still insane that we set him up over 3 movies and we still have never seen him in film. It's Mr. Sinister.
Oh, yeah.
He was one of the most striking characters to me as a kid in the TV show.
Yeah.
That super creepy smile. With,
I forgot he was even a character.
With, like, the vampire teeth.
Yeah.
There is a really neat...
Oh, no. Mojo's gonna be on your list. Oh, no.
Nah, don't worry. Mojo's not gonna be on my list.
Yeah. I hate Mojo,
yeah,
but you love Mojo.
I don't love Mojo. I like that first episode in the cartoon show.
The second episode's terrible,
Yeah,
though.
it's not good. It's not good. But I think, I mean, no, he's insufferable, but like he's supposed to be. A little goes a long way. He and MODOK have that in common.
Yeah, MODOK.
But anyway, that's another one of those things where he's fun partly because of the soap opera aspect of everything, where he's constantly after Jean Grey and Scott Summers, and he's doing crazy genetic manipulations but behind the scenes, and he's, again, really mysterious, and you never know exactly why he's there and what he's after, and he shows up when you least expect it. He's got a cool cape.
Yeah.
I just love Mr. Sinister, and like I said, it's crazy we still haven't gotten him in the movies. Essex's name was just in movie after movie after movie. But a lot of my love for him is from the TV show, and then after that, it's there's an arc in comics where they do a crazy thing with like a floating disembodied Sinister head. That's awesome, and that always stuck with me too. That's kind of early 2010s, and I can't remember whose run that was, but because it's been a while. Like I said, I'm really rusty. But yeah, so, a lot of that is aesthetic for me, but I need to read more stuff with Sinister, and I've never been all the way through Claremont, so there are things that I know about that I've never read, and probably lots of stuff I don't even know about. And by the way, when we get to runners-up, I'll also talk about characters that people might expect to be on my list that I just haven't read enough of. Or seen enough in things, and where the movies or the TV show don't put it over the top, where it's like, yeah, I'm probably crazy for not listing that character. I won't name names yet, but I just haven't spent enough time with them.
Yeah.
Him or her. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, my number 8 is Mystique.
Mystique is on your list. I wasn't sure if she would be.
List.
Which iteration?
Movies. Well, movies. I grew up with the movies. I grew up with Mystique. Mystique was always my favorite X-Men character before the fighting game growing up.
Oh yeah, I forgot
before
about
I started
that.
playing.
And then it became Psylocke, right?
Psylocke. Well, Psylocke was my favorite fighting game.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
For a while, but yeah.
Is Mystique in any of those? I don't think she is.
She's not. So.
What would you even do with her? Like she shapes. Actually, wouldn't that be nuts? If you could somehow shapeshift into another character that's in the game and then have their powers, their moveset.
That's cool.
So she'd have like a really minimal moveset.
Yeah.
That would be.
She's also
really neat.
She also looks awesome in comics and in movies.
Movies. I like her reinvented look in those.
That's also why I picked her over Morph in the 90s show.
I'd love to know if Morph shows up on anybody's favorite list. A lot of people think that he wasn't comic book first. He was, but he was massively reinvented for the show.
Really? He was in the... Because I know he was in the comics later.
I think he's a really minor character.
Because I know he was in the comics in 2010s, but I do like Morphin, the 90s show, after the pilot.
When they bring him back?
He comes back as a villain, and he is actually pretty cool.
He's got kind of a tragic arc.
Yeah.
It was a little bit too obvious. There was a part of me that kind of wanted him to stay dead just so that show could say, yeah, we'll kill characters. But he was also so expendable that it was kind of nice that he came back and we got maybe a little bit more character dimension from him.
Yeah.
Although he also was kind of brainwashed, and if memory serves.
Yeah, I loved Mystique growing up, and I just had to put her on the list.
What movie did you dig her in the most? Is it for Days of Future Past or is it X2? Because I didn't bring that up, but I love her in X2. Yeah. Yep. She's really great as a minimally speaking character, but she's really smart, and there's a lot going on. Like she's a good manipulator just with her powers, and she doesn't have to constantly talk.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a part of me with First Class that was like, I don't really want a Mystique that I have to listen to have pages and pages of dialogue, because what's interesting about her is that you don't really know what she's thinking. But then it's a prequel thing, so we got to get her to that place.
In First Class, wasn't she part of the X-Men? I hadn't seen First Class.
She is in the First Class. It's very odd, yeah. And she is raised by Xavier.
Yeah, I remember Mystique being in the truck with them, but I haven't seen First Class in forever, so I don't remember much about it.
Yeah, and that's a choice that doesn't work retroactively if it's supposed to fit in with the rest of the movies that you've seen already. Yeah. But if you can take First Class sort of on its own terms and as a reboot, it works better, but you also can't, because a lot of the choices they're making there, they wouldn't make unless it was that.
Yeah.
Guys, we're going to take just a real quick break, and sorry to have to do it, but I've got to go check on my twin girls upstairs real quick. So everybody give us just a couple of minutes, and we'll be right back. Okay, pardon the interruption. Thanks for being patient with us, folks. We are, I'm taking care of all my kids by myself all day, and my girls needed something, so we're good now. That was your number 6?
My number 8.
Oh my goodness, we're only on 8?
Yeah.
Wait, that couldn't have been your number 8, because I went first, right?
Yep, you went first. What was your number?
But I didn't say my number 8. I did Mystique, I did Deadpool,
Yeah.
and then what did you do?
And then I said Professor X, and then I said Cable, and then I said Mystique.
Okay.
But I don't remember.
Well,
What
have we gotten out of
8?
order? My number 8.
Mr. Whatever.
Oh! You know what? I jumped ahead. Because I thought we were at 7.
Oh.
I jumped ahead. So I'll go back. But you know what? I think I'm okay with this order either way. But yeah, so my number 7 was Mr. Sinister. My number 8 is Jean Grey.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And I'm not a massive Jean Grey fan.
I'm a big Phoenix fan, so that's kind of why I do like Jean Grey.
Yeah, and I've got this with several characters. Jean Grey, to me, in a lot of things, is not really fully drawn, fully developed. But what I like, there's a conceptual thing with her that I like a lot, which is, and there's other X-Men that we play this way, but other mutants we play this way. But Jean Grey is kind of the ultimate example of the antithesis to Professor X's philosophy. The reason that the philosophy might not work. The mutant that really can't control their powers and there's nothing they can do about it and is so powerful you have to stop them. You have to put them down somehow. And it's tragic and it's not their fault and it's horrible, but Professor X's whole ideal is it's just bigotry that we can get past, and if humans and mutants can put their differences aside and act more evolved, as it were, then we can find a way to make a society that works. But what about and then his whole idea is, if I can just get mutants to come to my school, I can teach them how to control their powers, and then humans don't have to be afraid of them. But you do have to be afraid, Brian. You do, because you have characters like Jean Grey where they can be so powerful, and Professor Xavier, even in certain things like in Logan, where there's nothing he can do to when his powers kind of take over and he can't control them, and people are dying, and that's kind of what Jean Grey will turn into with the Phoenix, kind of, just to some degree. But like, she's so super powerful. What if, she couldn't control her powers? I also really like her look in the '90s, especially. I like Femke Janssen a lot, even though I always felt like she didn't get enough to do. And that character wasn't drawn enough. And the look of the Phoenix is really cool. I haven't read the actual, Dark Phoenix story in a long time, so I can't really speak to that right now. But
I only know about Phoenix and Dark Phoenix because of, I first knew about them from the movies, which was not a very good thing. But then I kind of actually learned the story about from the show.
Yeah.
So.
Well, go ahead and give us your number 7 now.
Okay, my number 7 is The Incredible Nightcrawler.
Incredible Nightcrawler! In the Munich Circus. Okay, so I'm going to keep asking you this question.
Yeah.
Is it more for the TV show iteration, the X2 iteration, any comics you've read?
Wow. Probably X2.
Yeah.
Probably. That's where I first saw him, but I don't know.
His look in that movie is so boss.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's spectacular. I like that actor a lot.
And his episode is great in the TV show.
Oh, yeah. And that's another character I wish we'd done more with the TV show. And then,
yeah, because he only got one episode.
And then X-Men Evolution makes him a main character. And it's up to you whether he's an annoying character. I think sometimes he kind of is. But yeah, he's there from the beginning and is in probably every episode of that show. He's one of the main characters. They do a lot with him and Rogue. And I forget who else, but yeah, he's one of the main characters there. And Kitty Pryde.
Mm-hmm.
I said Rogue. I guess it's more him and Kitty Pryde they do a lot with.
Oh yeah, Kitty Pryde. I forgot that was even a character. Like, I don't know anything about Kitty Pryde.
So I'll just go ahead and say this now. I was going to save this for later.
Yeah.
That's the major character that I was referring to when I said people will be surprised when she doesn't make either of our lists. Because people love Kitty Pryde, and she's a Claremont favorite.
She's in the early movies, right?
She's in X3. That's where we introduce her. She's in that love triangle with Rogue and Bobby. And then she is in Days of Future Past as the plot device to get Wolverine back in time, which is how she's used more or less in the comics also for that. I like her power. I like that character on paper. I've not spent enough time with her, and she's well cast and fine in X3, but it's X3. Like, she's not great there or anything. And so that's a character that I feel like if I read a lot more of, I might be on the bandwagon with everybody else with. I also have this with Emma Frost, who's a character that I don't just inherently love, but have found her interesting in things. So, yeah, since you said that, I thought I would go ahead and come out and go, yes, I get it. I'm a fake X-Men fan. I'm not obsessed with either Emma Frost or Kitty Pryde, and I'm supposed to be, but I'm not. And I put Deadpool on my list. I'm a fake X-Men fan. Yeah. But anyway, talk more about Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler. He has a cool power because he can teleport.
Yeah.
And
what's the sound effect? Bamf.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
It's Bamf.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's
Bamf is a big thing. Yeah.
Bamf. And he's
Bamf is so popular. I'm pretty sure there was a Nightcrawler comic just called Bamf. I think I'm remembering that right. I might be right. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I like his outfit. I like what it looks like. I think it looks cool. I like his accent. I really like his episode in X-Men with
dealing with the religious angle.
Yeah, I think I really like that show because it gets kind of serious and deals with some actual
real life issues. And really mature and thought provoking for a kid's show.
Yeah.
About some of that stuff.
Yeah.
And obviously, it will fall into stereotype and cliche territory, particularly with accents and things. Like, we get into ethnic stereotypes a lot with that show, but it gets really thoughtful about the religious side of things and whether it even makes sense to believe in God in a world with mutants, and how a character like Nightcrawler. And he's interesting because he looks like a demon. Yeah. But he's Catholic and he worships God. Yep. And how a character like that can find meaning and spirituality in a world that hates and fears him. And I really like Wolverine's arc in that.
Oh yeah. Yep.
My number 6 is Nightcrawler. We completely tied with this number.
Wow. No, we didn't.
I thought we were at 6.
Yeah,
oh, no, that was first. I go first. Yeah, okay. All right. So we almost had the same character lining up right there. But that's why
you already talked about
that's
Nightcrawler,
why I've already talked this much about
my
Nightcrawler.
number 6.
Well, real quick, though, I also have to mention part of what's so much fun with him in X2. I mean, like I said, I like his look a lot. I like the choice of the penance scars. Mm-hmm. All over his body, one for every sin. That's so cool. Yeah. But the other thing, and I like that they don't shy too much away from the religious stuff in that either. Yeah. And the conversation he has with Storm in that is really nice. Yeah. But the other thing is just the White House opening. Yeah. It sets the stage for the coolest comic book movie up to that point, and it kind of delivers it. It's wonderful. Anyway, all right, go ahead.
Number 6 is Storm.
Storm.
I used to not really like this character.
What turns you around?
The show.
Yeah?
I really like her in the show.
Do you like the gravitas and the constant talking to the sky? She's a Shakespeare character.
Yeah, she is. But yeah, I really like Storm. I like her character. I like her, how she has a sense of fear and stuff, and yeah.
Oh yeah, with her claustrophobia.
Which
again, soap opera
stuff.
We don't
really get into that in the movies.
I don't think the movies ever do the claustrophobe thing.
But
they don't. Yeah, I think that's from the comics. But the movies don't do anything with that character. And then we cast.
I do like her.
A way more appropriate actress for that role when we get past Days of Future Past. And she's got it's in the 80s, she's got the mohawk, she's awesome, and we do even less with her somehow.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think it was possible.
And I do like her outfit with the mohawk, and she's cool in what's it called?
I don't know. There's lots of X-Men things, Jason. Throw me a bone here. How do I help?
Oh yes.
Yes.
X-Men versus Capcom.
Oh yeah.
Versus Street Fighter.
She's my go-to character. She's my main.
Yeah, I think she's really good in that game.
In the you're talking about Children of the Atom.
No, I'm not. I'm talking about X-Men.
Specifically X-Men versus Street Fighter.
Street Fighter.
Yeah, she's my main when it's just X-Men, and then she's one of my mains in well, I was gonna say, sorry, this is not interesting to anybody. I was gonna say one of the versus Capcoms, but I'm not sure if is she even in Marvel vs. Capcom 2? I think she is.
Yeah, she is.
Okay. If so, I'd probably use her a lot there too.
Like her that much. So.
Yeah, I like her special moves a lot. In that, my number, where were we at? 5. My number 5 is Storm. You're like one ahead of me right now. It's pretty crazy.
Oh my gosh, that's insane.
Did you know?
Well, my next one won't be. So.
And I'm with you. Storm used to not. I'm gonna say a stupid sentence. Used to would not make my list.
Yeah.
At one time, she wouldn't have, but I've really warmed up to her over the last, I don't know, probably 10 years. Did you know that in the comics, she is married to T'Challa?
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't
and
know
so
that.
there's a Black Panther, there's a whole, Wakanda connection with her, too, and she ends up being, kind of I think she becomes the queen at one point there. I like her, again, fake X-Men fan, I like her better as leader of the X-Men than Cyclops.
Oh, yeah.
In comics, not in the movies. In X3, we lose Cyclops, and then Xavier goes to her as the leader because she's the leader in the comics. But in those movies, it does not feel like the appropriate choice at all.
No. They should have cast Rogue.
Well,
not cast, but they should have chosen Rogue. No.
Well, no, because Rogue... No, that's hilarious that you say that. You don't remember X3 very well.
No, I don't.
Because at that point, Rogue is trying to get the cure and give up being a mutant. And she's also still too much like a high school kid.
No, that was a joke.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, a lot of it with Storm is just, like I said, the gravitas and the overly dramatic soliloquies.
Yeah.
Wind! Yeah, she's great.
I don't know why you have to say that.
Yeah, no, I don't either. She's calling a Megazord every time she uses her powers.
That's what I was gonna say.
Senior Sticks $2 super chat. The best X-Men are Dazzler, Null. That might be a typo, but I'm not sure who that is. Elixir, and I don't know who that is either. And Juggernaut. Michael Reed, the leader. Senior Sticks, the best leader, because unlike Wolverine, he sticks around. You must mean she sticks around.
No,
and
Cyclops, because the one above it is Cyclops is the leader.
Oh. Does the work require to be the... Oh, I see. Not Senior Sticks, Cyclops is the leader. I gotcha. But sometimes Storm is... Well, and I say that, Storm goes off and has, I think, her own team at some point.
Well, Cyclops leaves at one point.
But I mean in the comics.
And yeah, in the comics, he leaves and joins the X whatever.
See, I was gonna say I thought she did that with another team. And then she takes it over.
He was with X-Force or whatever it's called for a while, and Storm was the leader of the actual X-Men.
Is it X-Force?
Yeah.
X Factor.
X Factor.
Yeah, Cyclops is X Factor. X-Force isn't until Liefeld, right? Isn't that Liefeld's team?
I think so.
And then, again, I'm rusty. Storm had her own team at one point, but I don't even know if X was in the title. I can't remember what it is now. We're talking 90s and late 80s, early 90s. And then you had, I think Excalibur was Nightcrawler's team.
Yep.
And then you had, this is all coming back to me, Gambit and the Externals. Yeah.
Ooh.
I
didn't know he had a team.
That was another... Oh, okay, yeah, Senior Sticks. I don't know those new X-Men characters. I'm an old person. I haven't been keeping up with comics lately. Okay, so I don't know how new they are, but
Elixir is a Minecraft item.
Oh, that's right, Michael Reed. He said Storm was Gold Team X-Men. I think they split off at one point. Maybe there were like a couple of different
there was
X-Men
X,
teams,
and there was Men.
And I'm not talking about much more recently where they did like the, red and blue thing or whatever, where they kept doing colors, because we love colors in comics. And Dazzler, I've not spent enough time with either. Dazzler was a huge fan favorite character in the 80s. Mm-hmm. And we talked about this in a video the other day. I can't remember who I was talking to, but Dazzler... Oh, no! Maybe this wasn't a video. Maybe this is when I was having a meeting with the Superhero Rewind producers. And I think maybe it was Josh who was telling us that Dazzler was kind of a character that Marvel was making a big deal out of and kind of trying to force on everybody. Which kind of creates the question of how popular was she really? But I still think she was relatively popular. Okay. What number are we on?
My number 5.
Your number 5.
This character I don't know that well, but I still really like this character's outfit and this character as a character.
It's just favorites. It could be superficial.
And it's Deadpool.
Oh, you actually put Deadpool on your list.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but even though I did it too. I have this whole thing with kids and Deadpool. Is it just because he's got 2 long swords? Well, you've seen the movies though.
Yeah,
so
he's just funny, and he's I think he's in Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
He is. That's true.
And I like him in that. I don't know. I never really knew much about him growing up. I just liked his outfit, and then I finally saw the movies, and I was like, yeah, he's funny, he's cool, yeah. So I don't really have much to say about him.
He's hip.
He's just
he's cool.
Cool. He's just aesthetically, cool.
When you get a little older, I'll give you one of the good Deadpool runs.
Yeah.
But it's dark and it's bleak and it's really messed up. Oh. And Deadpool tortures his roommate.
Cool.
And stuff. Anyway, Jason's turning into a consummate 90s kid. Senior Sticks, I don't know what he means by no is a, but he says no is a Jubilee fan. I guess he means we're not Jubilee fans. She was a vampire and is a single mom. Yep, I don't like Jubilee at all, and I never have. Spoiler alert, she's not on my list. David, Captain Logan, did you guys watch X-Men, the show from Kids WB? That's X-Men Evolution. We were just talking about that earlier. Jason's never seen an episode of that. I don't think. Or have you?
No, I have not seen X-Men Evolution.
We'll do that at some point. I think you'll like that show a lot. That's a little past my time. I've never been a big fan of that, those, I don't know, character models, that kind of animation, but I've warmed up to it with some other shows, so I might like that a little bit more going back to it, but it looks a little bit like the Batman. It's probably the same animation house that worked on that. Okay, where are we at here?
Number 4.
Okay, my apologies. There's still madness going on upstairs, so I'm going to need to run off and deal with that real quick. Jason, instead of taking a full-on break, why don't you chat with the commenters for a minute?
Okay, cool.
About X-Men or whatever you'd like to. Whatever. I'm just going to take care of something very quickly, and I'm sorry about the interruptions today, guys. That's what happens when you live stream everything.
Yeah. Okay, so, hello, welcome to the Jayson show, as Senior Sticks put it. So, yeah, I know you guys put in some of your favorite X-Men. What are your favorite X-Men, or, your top, 3, top 5? I think this list is going to get a lot, I think this list is gonna get a lot more interesting when I get more to the top 5 or top 3. Well, I am on top 5 right now, but top 3 probably. Senior Sticks, Jason, did Halloween go well? Halloween did go well. I was Terminator, so I had sunglasses. So wearing sunglasses at night was kind of hard because I was blind. Everyone's saying their favorite character is Cyclops, Bublin. Top X person is usually Magneto. Yeah, Danny versus Cyclops was always my favorite as a kid. I'm not the biggest fan of Cyclops. He's got a cool power, but other than that, I mean, I like him in the movies, but I don't really like him. If you don't know, I have a YouTube channel, and I am it's called Video Game Secrets. I talk about video games. I don't really know. It's really hard to get to, but it's because you can't really search it up. But yeah, I don't even know why I brought this up. But anyway, just put out a Halloween special yesterday. Nicholas Robinson, Jason, what's your favorite sci-fi show? That doesn't really count as sci-fi. My favorite sci-fi show is probably just Star Trek. My favorite Star Trek show though is it's TNG. A lot of people don't like Enterprise, but I do really like Enterprise. It's like my second or third favorite Star Trek show. So yeah, I'd say TNG is my favorite sci-fi show. Oh, look, his dad.
All right, my apologies, folks. Let's try to get our list knocked out here, Jason.
Yeah, you're number 4.
Number 4 is Rogue.
Wow, this high up.
Yeah, I'm never totally happy with my order. I might have moved things around if I had another day or two to think about it. But I will say, Rogue was probably my second or third favorite character in the 90s show. I really liked her look. You and I went on and on about her origin episode in that show and how cool that was with Captain Marvel and or Miss Marvel.
Oh, yeah.
And all of that.
That's my favorite episode of the entire show, so.
I love her relationship with Gambit. As thick and kind of put upon as that accent is, I always really liked that voice actress a lot. And then in the movies, I really liked her relationship with Wolverine. I thought she was an excellent Aizen character for that first film. Maybe not enough done with her after that. That's one of the best things that's done in that first movie, in kind of combining her character with Kitty Pryde to some degree. Mm-hmm. I think that's sort of what they did with her.
I do like... I don't really like her in the movies.
You don't?
I don't. Because she's just way better in the TV show.
You wish she was more like that character?
Yeah. She's just not really Rogue. She's...
Yeah. No, she is totally reinvented.
Yeah, and I don't like what they did with her.
I like how tragic she's played in both of those iterations. She's a lot more of a... I don't know if... spunky or Spitfire is the right word kind of character in the cartoon show, but I mean, and she's older too. You could kind of see maybe Marie from the movies growing up to become a little bit more like the Rogue from the comics and the TV show. But she is larger. She's more larger than life. Also, she has a totally different body type. She looks like a completely different character.
Yeah.
But I like both of those characters, and I also see them as different characters. So that's probably why I felt the need to put it as high as I did.
Yeah. Leave me alone!
I think she's gonna wind up pretty high on your list too, and we'll see if she's right here or after this. But go ahead.
My number 4 is Wolverine.
Wolverine is that low. That's somewhat surprising.
Wow.
I thought he might be a couple more, one more up for you.
Nope.
All right. Well, the most popular X-Men character of all time. Talk a little bit about Wolverine.
I actually do like Wolverine for the movies and not the TV show. I do like him in the TV show, but I like him better in the movies. Or at least the first 3.
And see, that's a place where I'm a little bit more like you were with Rogue, where obviously I really like Hugh Jackman, but I always wish he'd been cast to be scrappier, be smaller and scrappier.
Yeah. But yeah, again, he's got a cool power, and he's got a, and I wasn't very happy when like I first watched those movies for the first time, and I was like, huh? He doesn't have his yellow costume.
Yeah.
And
he never gets that.
He never gets it.
You know we'll see it in Deadpool 3.
Yeah.
There's no way he doesn't finally have it there.
Well, and he won't have a beard either, so it'll be easier for it'll probably look better than it would have, I feel like, in the movies.
He didn't have a beard there either. What are you talking about?
Yeah, did?
In the Wolverine?
No.
He wouldn't have had it in Logan, but the costume
Yeah.
shows up in a cut scene in a suitcase in the Wolverine.
Oh, yeah.
That's the movie where it would have been. He doesn't have a beard there.
I don't know. I don't know. I thought he did have a beard in some movies.
Oh, I mean, Logan, he's got more facial hair than he had. But
I don't know. I don't know.
Anyway, it's not important.
It's not.
What else do you like about Wolverine?
Gee. I do like the relationship between him and Jean and Cyclops. I know most people don't, but I think it's...
Well, it's handled in some places better than others.
Yeah, especially in the TV show. I do like how it's handled. I don't know much about Wolverine in the comics, but yeah, he's one of my favorite characters. I didn't put him higher because there are a few other characters that I like a lot better than him. I also like him in Marvel superheroes.
Berserker Barrage.
Yeah.
My number 3 is Magneto.
Oh, okay.
And for obvious reasons, Magneto is one of, if not the most sympathetic villains of all time. He's the opposite extreme of Professor X's philosophy. You want to root more for Professor X, but at the end of the day, the answer probably lies somewhere between them. They're both extremists. They're both... they both go a little bit too far in their philosophies, probably. And he's just more egregious about it in that he is willing to kill humans or let humans die. But Professor X has his own moral ambiguities as well. And so, they're both deeply flawed characters. Magneto, of course, is another super tragic character. My favorite X-Men characters are that way. He is, with the way his family was taken away from him in World War II, and that's especially well handled in the movies, in X-Men 1, but then even more so in First Class, with Kevin Bacon's character, who's escaping me right now. But, and that's another one of those things where you have Shaw. That's another one of those characters where you have a couple of different iterations that are, or a few actually, that are all wonderful. And like the way McKellen plays him is differently than I see him in the comics, but he's about all the same things. And he brings a little bit more of an elegance to it.
Yeah.
I think that I like a lot. I like how, like, cold but also sort of apologetic he is for the bad things he thinks he has to do in order for the greater good. The way he treats Rogue in the first movie, I think, is really interesting. Because he's willing to sacrifice essentially one of his own for the thing that he believes in, and probably doesn't want to have to do that, but he also has, lost enough empathy that he probably doesn't feel as bad as he ought to about it, but he's also really interesting when he's played more as a superhero, and when he's on the X-Men, and when he and Professor X do figure out a way to kind of get along, even though they're on opposite ends, because that happens sometimes too. He's one of the only X-Men characters besides Wolverine that's had a singular run in comics that I've kept up with and really liked. There's been at least a couple of Magneto runs more recently, and I mean I haven't kept up with anything in 4 or 5 years that I've liked quite a bit. I want to say I can't remember if Cullen Bunn started that run, but there was a run with Bunn that was pretty good, and I think there's even another one that I like. Oh, you know what the other one was? It was when he wore an Iron Man suit, and I think it was I can't remember what the was it Irredeemable? No, I can't remember what the name of that book was now. But anyway, or was that Doom? See, I'm off track because it's been too long. I'm rusty. No, that was Doctor Doom, and that was also really interesting. But there's also a really good Magneto one. I was conflating those things. Doom is the other like really scary villain character who could also be very sympathetic and interesting to read about. Yeah.
And I think Doctor Doom is great in a lot of like kids shows and stuff. I think he's great in Marvel
Superhero Squad.
Superhero Squad.
Yeah.
And stuff. Yeah.
Anyway. All right, we're at your number 3.
My number 3. So I think you'll know my top 3.
Juggernaut is going to be 2 or 3. Juggernaut could be number 1, actually.
Maybe.
What is your number 3?
My number 3 is Rogue.
Your number 3 is Rogue. Okay.
It is Rogue.
Talk some more about Rogue.
Yeah, I do like how tragic this character is, and
and not being able to touch anyone.
Yeah.
Can't have a normal life.
Yeah. I think that the show really handles that well, as well. And again, she has whitish hair.
Oh
So
yeah,
she's a
you
good character.
you like characters. Well, and you've always
Storm too.
You've always been more partial to female characters in general.
Yeah.
So she's a girl with white hair.
She's best character. Yep.
Do you like her power set?
Yeah, I do. And I like how, like, it's kind of a mystery, like, how can she fly? How is she really strong? And then it's like, oh, Miss Marvel. What?
Yeah, isn't that great? Yeah, the idea that she held on too long.
Yeah.
I like the mythology of all of that. Was that one of the things that frustrated you about the movies, is that she never got to that power set?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, she's not super strong, she doesn't fly. Like, she just has the power-sucking ability. But I can't think of what it's called. But they have a lot of fun, especially in that first movie, with that power.
Mm-hmm.
And like how she saves Wolverine's life with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like,
they kind of go back and forth, saving each other because of that.
Her costume a bit, but it's not varied. Like, it's a green suit. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
Or green and yellow. It's just meh.
My number 2 is Wolverine.
Oh, okay. I will say the next 2 are not women.
I have, which is kind of surprising, honestly.
I could not
that
choose
your number
between...
1 and 2, number 1 or 2 weren't women.
I could not choose between number 1 and number 2. I couldn't choose which one was better than the other, but I think I got it. I just don't know. Yeah, Wolverine.
Senior 6 says Doom is not sympathetic. He's just a dictator who will only help if you bow to Doom. Well, yeah, generally that's true. But I've read things where we get more into why he is the way he is, and dictionary definition of sympathetic. Certainly Magneto would be more so, but anyway. But yeah, Wolverine is a character I've loved since I was a kid. I was definitely on that kind of 90s bandwagon. I'm of that generation where Wolverine and X-Men were kind of synonymous. I always liked him because he was a scrawny but tough and strong superhero, and I'm a real short guy. So I always related to that. I was like, oh, cool. There's like one of everybody's favorite superheroes that we think of as, pardon the expression, a badass is my size, and kind of looks more like me. And he doesn't even, I mean, he can be drawn super muscular, but a lot of the time, and everybody was in the 90s, but a lot of the time Wolverine doesn't even look huge and jacked or anything. He's just a Wolverine. He's an animal, and he's, again, scrappy and small and is just doing what he has to survive.
They're
It's all
animals. I slaughter them like animals.
like animals. Again, a really tragic character. I don't usually like amnesia stuff, but Wolverine is one of the kind of the exceptions that proves the rule with that.
Yeah, I think it works.
Because, yeah, go ahead.
Do you like his blue and yellow suit or his brown and yellow suit?
I go back and forth, but I think I'm partial to the brown one. Is that what's on my my shirt
what
right now?
But
yeah.
but the blue one's on
The thumbnail.
the thumbnail. So I was like, which one's better?
When I was a kid, it was all about the yellow suit because that's what was in the cartoon show, of course. And I didn't know about the brown suit for the longest time. But I like it because it's more understated and it just goes with his personality a little bit better. I do like the contrast better with the yellow when he goes up against Sabretooth.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like initially the mystery of his origins. I didn't need origin. I didn't need to ever know how far back he supposedly goes, and like I like just not knowing how old he was, and his being as strong and capable as he is, but also so much of a victim. That was always really interesting. There's a nature-nurture thing with Wolverine that always appealed to me. He's an animal, he's a weapon, but he's also a person who really does have a heart. He really does care. It's like he's always fighting. He's always, pardon me, I'm distracted by people running around upstairs. He's very conflicted in whether it's even possible for him to do the right thing, or if at the end of the day he will be the monster. And I always really appreciated that. Also, 2 of my 3 names are his names, so I always related to him because of that when I finally realized it. And we don't get this, I don't think, until Origin, but of course he was always called Logan. But Logan is like for Wolverine, like with me, actually his middle name, which is crazy. He's James Logan Howlett, and
what?
Yeah,
really?
And I'm James Logan Williamson, and my parents did not name me after Wolverine. Isn't that wild?
Yeah, I knew he was. I knew his last name was Howlett, but
yeah, Logan is his middle name.
Yeah,
he's also James.
So. I'm at my number 2.
Yeah.
So I had a really hard time picking between for my number 1.
Real quick, yes, eater sticks. I'm sure I am 5'6". I'm very short. Yeah, go ahead.
So I had a really hard time picking between for number 1, picking between Juggernaut and someone else.
Yeah.
And
but you would have had to put Juggernaut somewhere on your list.
Yeah,
which makes this Juggernaut.
No, my number 2 is Gambit.
Oh, I'm sorry, we're at number 2. I keep thinking you're going first. So I'm like, well, if it's not number 1, where's Juggernaut? Okay, so you did put Juggernaut number 1.
Yes.
We'll talk about Gambit
it
because
might be Jean Grey. I might hate Juggernaut. No.
Juggernaut would have been 11 or 12 on my list probably. He was almost there. I kind of feel weird about knocking him off. Talk about Gambit.
Gambit.
Did I say Juggernaut? I mean, Gambit would have. I don't know what
Gambit
I don't know what I said.
11 or 12,
Gambit would have been 11 or 12.
Oh, okay.
Juggernaut would have been nowhere on my list, but I'm not a Juggernaut guy.
Okay. So, Gambit is a character that actually, surprisingly, I don't really like his character.
Oh, Iron Shell, I didn't know that. I thought Logan was just his middle name. See, I'm always learn things when we do this. I'm sorry, Jason, I didn't mean to interrupt you. He says, well, actually, he names himself Logan because of his father's surname. Now that you say that, it's coming back to me a little bit. Because I think that's also an origin, right? Anyway, sorry, good.
Okay.
My apologies. My apologies.
Okay, so, oh yeah. So, actually, surprisingly, Gambit's not one of my favorite characters because of the fighting game this time.
Oh, okay.
Juggernaut is. But, yeah, it's the show. He's my favorite character in the show. Juggernaut is great in the show, but he's not my favorite character. Gambit is he's got playing cards. I don't know if you know this, but I'm like a big card guy.
Yeah. No, I do know that.
And I mean, his power is cool because he throws cards everywhere.
Well, you're a magic guy, and that looks like magic tricks.
Yeah, and he's from Louisiana, and he's Cajun guy.
He's Cajun,
but
yeah.
I grew up
nowhere near there.
but yeah, but I grew up in this ballet, the Cajun Nutcracker.
Oh, I got you.
Which my
It's like, how is he gonna make this a personal thing?
One of my teachers used to live in Louisiana, or now lives in Louisiana again.
Went back,
but,
yeah.
Yeah, she went back, and it's very
interesting.
Sad. But yeah, and so I kind of have and he's just a funny character. He's just a fun character, and his relationship with Rogue is great, and he's just a cool guy.
And he's also, at least early on, got that mysterious thing where you don't know where his loyalties lie, and that makes, again, the soap opera fun. Because he used to be a thief. I don't think I would have really any interest in Gambit if it weren't for the TV show. Yeah. And that's like the beginning of the end of that character for me.
Yeah.
And
I wasn't sure if he was good in like the comics or not.
I mean, he is. It's just I think I needed that voice. I don't know.
Is he? Yeah. The voice puts it over the top for me. He's
got that great like partial mask. I was like that.
Yeah.
There's a few X-Men characters that have that.
Is he in the I think Cyclops has that as well.
Sometimes, yeah.
And Jean Grey. A lot of characters.
That's a 90s thing, I guess, yeah. That impossible One Piece where you're like, how do you even put that on? Like, where does it... Does it unfasten somewhere? Like
it goes like around his head, but like his hair is on top of it.
Yeah, it goes over
and it goes like down. I don't even know.
Yeah, it looks like One Piece.
Is he in the movies at all?
He's in Origins.
Oh, he's in. Oh.
Yeah, and it's not great. I don't mind. I forget his name. I don't mind that actor there, but like everybody, it's just the writing's not good.
Origins. I never watched. I've never seen Origins. That's like the one.
Have you not?
Major X-Men movie I've never seen.
Okay, we'll do that at some point.
So
and,
we were gonna.
I'll stab myself constantly.
That was gonna be our next Father and Son review.
Well, we can still do it.
It was gonna be X-Men Origins. It was gonna be the Wolverine, and it was gonna be Logan.
I forgot about that. Yeah, we can go back and occasionally do more of those double and triple features. It's just I know you wanted to turn this into kind of a list show, but we might occasionally break that formula and go back to the old formula. So we're at number 1 now. My number 1, no one will be surprised. You can go ahead and say it. It should be obvious at this point. It's Professor X.
Yep.
Yep. Like I said, for me, X-Men begins and ends with the constant, never-ending debate with Professor X and Magneto.
I actually thought it was going to be Beast, so I don't...
I like every iteration of Professor X. I love it in the cartoon show. I love Stewart. I love... And I guess we've talked about this a little bit. I love McAvoy. We didn't talk about McAvoy at all. I think Days of Future Past is probably what puts Professor X over Wolverine for me now, because his arc in that resonated with me so hard, and with how conflicted he is about whether he even should keep the school going, and if there's any hope anymore. We need you to hope again in humans and mutants fighting a way to coexist. I love the moral ambiguity with Professor X. I love the question of whether it's possible for someone to be that powerful and not let it corrupt them. We take it too far in places. I mean, if the story is told right, I don't actually mind throwing Professor X under the bus. If I buy that he got there, where he actually can be so corrupted to the point where he will like mind wipe people and control people's minds and that kind of thing. I didn't like it in X-Men 3 retroactively as the explanation for how Jean Grey gets the Phoenix, and that it's just like an alternate personality, and she's got a crazy alternate personality that Xavier suppressed. I hate that whole thing. Having him do it, that kind of thing, later after a lot of years of getting desperate and getting to where he's almost taking Magneto tactics, or using Magneto tactics, where he'll do whatever it takes, even if it goes against his philosophy, to prove his philosophy, is infinitely fascinating. I think it's one of the reasons that I'm such a Zordon fan now, because the comics, and I've always liked that character too, but like I like Zordon as much or more than anything else in Power Rangers at this point, because of that kind of moral ambiguity thing with a leader who is so powerful and so extreme in his altruistic philosophy that he becomes less altruistic, and it becomes a lot more of a my way or the highway kind of thing. And I just, that question of whether you can, whether you actually hold to your principles, like how long can you do that? Yeah. And have that kind of power and lead a thing. At what point does something like the X-Men stop being a superhero team and turn into almost like a cult? Is really interesting. And like I love Xavier's, allegedly, ostensibly, endless hope that we can all get along. But it's also really interesting when that breaks down. See, I love that character.
Do you like the yellow and blue chair, or do you like the silver chair?
I like the transparent glass or plastic chair.
Yeah.
That's my favorite, for the end of the first movie.
Yeah.
I also like the metaphor, especially in Days of Future Past, of Professor X's, but I mean, we do it in other places as well, of his handicap. Mm-hmm. And just the juxtaposition of the most powerful man on the planet can't walk. Yeah. Like I love that. And that debate at the end of First Class, around that is great. Senior Sticks $2 super chat. To be fair, a Jean Grey was extremely dangerous. A Jean Grey was extremely dangerous. Yes, yes, it was.
2 Jean Greys would be even more dangerous.
No,
5 Jean Greys. Oh man,
that is true. And you could make the argument that he might be justified in doing that. I know a lot of people feel like, and I never fully understood this, a lot of people think that Cyclops was right in killing Xavier during AVX because of just how morally ambiguous or even bereft he gets, where he's like a rabid dog that's got to be put down, where even if his heart is in the right place, he's just controlling too many people or mind wiping too many people to be allowed to stick around and be left alive. I always felt like there had to be some way, if we really thought that he was the most dangerous thing on the planet, to like suppress his powers and just lock him away or something. But okay, I kind of get why people felt that way. But
AVX, Alien versus X.
No, Avengers versus X.
Oh, Avengers,
which you should read because it's wonderful.
I was like, Alien versus Predator.
AVX is one of the last great Marvel events, I think. Original Sin is up there too, but.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, okay, so we need to go ahead and wrap up, but those are our lists.
My number 1 is Juggernaut.
Oh, I'm sorry. I keep forgetting you didn't go first this time. Yeah, I know.
Well,
okay.
Yeah, that's the problem with you going first, is because you always forget that you didn't go first.
Senior Stick says, he retracted it, but he mentioned that Cyclops had the Phoenix. I realize that Cyclops had the Phoenix. A lot of people thought, even if he didn't, it was somehow the right thing to do to kill Xavier. And I always thought that him having the Phoenix Force when he did that was a little bit of a cop-out, so that he didn't have to completely take responsibility for it or be thought of as I mean, he kind of does actually, but that way there's kind of a backdoor out so that eventually the reader would buy him being a superhero again, I suppose. But anyway, why do you like Juggernaut so much?
So I first...
Because nothing can stop him?
Yes. So I first learned about Juggernaut in X3, which is the worst possible way to find out about Juggernaut.
Except you loved him in that.
I loved Juggernaut in X3, and I was like, wow, he's great. And then, he's funny, and he's big, and he's strong, and he's funny, and then
You said that.
and then you see him in the TV show, and he actually has some character in that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, there's a little bit of pathos with Juggernaut in that show. And he's Xavier's brother.
Juggernaut.
So your number one is my number one's brother.
Yeah. Juggernaut's return is one of the best episodes of the show, and it's very good. And
yeah, you said that was your favorite episode when we talked about it.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite episodes, and then also another thing that really got me into that character was the fighting games. Marvel vs. Capcom, X-Men Children of the Atom, Marvel Superheroes.
He's
X-Men
slow, but he just
Street Fighter.
stomps you.
Yeah, he's great. He's my favorite character in those games, and he's not as good in like Children of the Atom and X-Men vs. Street Fighter and Marvel vs. Capcom as he is in Marvel Superheroes.
Oh, really?
Marvel Superheroes is his best. Yeah, because he's a little... Yeah.
Hayden Spring, Cap, should I watch 90s X-Men? Yes, just know it is real hokey in places. There's this weird blend of like actually dramatic and gripping and with that show, and also just unbelievably cheesy. All at the same time. And also, should you watch Legion? I haven't seen past the pilot yet, which I'm hoping to do somewhat soon.
Should we go through our runners-up real quick?
But I like the pilot a lot. Yes, let's do that. But sure. I think real quick, before we go through our runners-up, we need to answer the question that no one's asking but must be on everyone's mind. There's an elephant in the room right now. Do you know what the elephant is?
Is it an Asian elephant?
Why did neither of us put Cyclops on our list?
I hate Cyclops. I know everyone loves Cyclops. I do not like
there are
Cyclops.
A lot of people that don't like Cyclops.
I do not like Cyclops. He's annoying. He should not be the leader. He's got a fine power, but like his costume is kind of bad.
What do you think?
I don't really like his costume. It's blue and some...
Well, there's different...
Dwarf crap. Like, I don't even...
Now, there's also a different 80s Cyclops costume, too.
Mm-hmm.
To be fair. At the same time as Wolverine wore the brown, but...
And it doesn't help that, like, I like him in the movies.
Even though he doesn't get anything to do at all?
But he gets nothing to do, and he's just...
I've never latched onto that character. He's... another one of those things, and I guess I put Jean Grey on my list for a similar reason, but I guess the thematic stuff with her is just more interesting to me. With Cyclops, he seems like kind of a necessity, where you need a... Well, I was going to say a yin to Wolverine's yang. I mean, Cyclops is there early, of course, but... I think of him as more interesting as a foil for Wolverine than anything else. You need kind of your Superman to your Batman, which is kind of how I see that relationship.
Yeah. And
he is, at his best, he is a Silver Age hero. More modern Cyclops is a little bit more rough around the edges in his kind of like righteous anger, I guess. But I think traditionally of Cyclops as, like, like a golden or silver age Superman, kind of, except way more sanctimonious than that, because he's, you know, not exactly perfect, but he kind of acts like it, and is kind of how I always saw him anyway. And maybe if I had grown up with Cyclops without Wolverine, I would like him more. But the problem is I tend to side with Wolverine and see Cyclops as irritating in the same ways Wolverine does. I have a hard time not looking at him from Wolverine's lens, I guess, is my whole thing. So that's why he's not on my list, but I know he's a lot of people's favorite character. Okay, real quick, because we've got to wrap up. Why don't you read down your runners up, or your runners up, and then I'll do mine.
Okay, Jean Grey. I love Phoenix.
Yep.
Bishop. I didn't put him on my list. I do like Bishop. I just didn't put him on my list because I didn't think I should put Cable and Bishop on the same list.
That's fair. He's the assassin.
Psylocke.
But if we'd done a top 20, he would have been there.
Yeah. Psylocke.
I was surprised not to see Psylocke on your list.
I don't know much about. That's why I didn't.
That's my problem. I don't know her very well.
She's not in the TV show, and I think she's in like one episode, but I'm not exactly sure.
Hayden Spring is with us. He says, I hope we get to punch Cyclops in the Wolverine game.
Oh, yeah. And Psylocke's great in the fighters. That's why I put her on runners-up.
Yep.
Archangel.
You like Archangel?
Because of the 90s show.
Yeah. But specifically, so not just Angel, not just Worthington. He has to become Archangel.
Has to be Archangel.
Yeah. Another very tragic character.
Colossus. I like him in Deadpool 2, and
me too.
He's in Deadpool 1 too, right?
He was a runner-up for me as well.
And he's
Hayden Spring. I mean, I don't mind him. I just want to punch him for fun.
And Apocalypse.
And Apocalypse.
He's huge. He's big. He's funny. Well, he's not funny, but he's huge.
His voice is really funny.
Yeah.
In the 90s show.
Yeah.
Do you know who created Apocalypse?
You.
Louise Simonson created
Really?
Apocalypse, and I have his first appearance.
That's cool.
I know. Okay, let me get my. I know, it's awesome, isn't it? Here's my
One more
runners up real quick. Iceman was a runner up for me.
I don't like Iceman.
Well, you're wrong, but he wasn't.
He's
quite
fun
cool
in
enough to put
the
here.
movies. But...
Colossus, Beast.
I thought Beast was gonna be your number one.
I very nearly put on my list.
I really thought you loved Beast.
He probably should have been there instead of somebody else, but I do like Beast quite a bit. Senior $62 super chat. Writers don't know what to do with Beast and Angel. Yeah, that's probably true. We had better get going because there's madness happening upstairs we've got to take care of.
Wow.
But thanks so much for being here, everybody, and thanks for watching after the fact if you did that. Appreciate the support and the super chats, and I will see you again tonight if you're so inclined to pop in for our next live show at 7 o'clock Central Time. We're doing a multi-topic extravaganza tonight.
Yay!
On the Captain Logan Show. Several kind of smaller, quick news stories that I want to cover instead of one big lead-in topic, including, but not limited to, the announcement that Vision is getting his own TV show on Disney Plus called Vision Quest. We'll talk about that and lots of other things. And in the meantime, I was Captain Logan.
I was Jayson.
And we were Father.
And we were Son.
We will bring you another list video next Tuesday. Bye, everybody.